Welcome back to Bull Sessions here on 680 KFEQ. You can email your questions or comments to bull@willcross.net. Once again, here's Randy Baker and agronomist Brad Law.
Okay, Brad, we made her back. Did you hold your thought on what we was talking about wheat?
Yes. And, on the cost of, fertilizer, every place is a little different on price. Where I'm buying my fertilizer may be different than yours.
Sure.
And not all retailers may be carrying the ammonium sulfate. They should, but a lot of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you just got to price it and see what the prices are. But I like getting some sulfur out there, But we got to go back before we put all that, get too excited about fertilizer. We need that something that don't cost nothing is walking around that combine and at the back. We talked about this several weeks ago.
Right.
But we spread those fins on the back of the combine, so we get that residue of bean stubble, typically having beans and taking those out and drilling wheat. Spread those fins so we're not, leaving strips out in the field that aren't getting no residue. Well, our wheat needs that residue spread evenly so we can get a better emergence, better seed bed for the wheat. So that's something that...
Well, it's a big deal.
It just takes a little time,
you
know.
Won't have
and,
no wheat there.
We talked about before, your corn head, let's say your corn head's 8 row, that's 20 foot. Well, then you put a 30-foot bean head on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's going to change you don't want to leave 5.5 foot. You've got a 10-foot gap that's no residue on. That'll cause some issues. So we can look at that.
What about your drill?
The drill,
kind of like our combine we talked about. I know you got to do some settings, or you just fill it up and go, like you do a lot of things.
No. We got to at least go around. We got to grease it first. That's always fun. I got one of them drills. You got to grease every single disc blade.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. You got to dig all the dirt out around them grease certs and then lean over it and everything. That's always fun. But besides that sort of maintenance, we got to look, okay? Our drill blades wore out. Our seed tubes do, I've got a green drill and the seed tubes, after so long, dry rot sitting in the shed, and then they got little holes in them. Well, is that wheat going to fall through them holes and then not make it in the seed bed? Well, we need to just look, are those big discs, are they wore out? Are we getting the depth? When it's set on the third notch, is it actually still going the same depth as it was 5 years ago? We need to check that, get out, and after we drill a little bit, hop out, stretch your legs, and dig. See, how deep are we putting that in?
How deep do you like to plant your wheat?
I like it on the third notch on the drill, Randy.
You have no clue, do you?
Oh, about that much. Is that good?
He's at the second knuckle for all of you that can't see him, and thank God you can't.
I have a face for radio.
He's sitting here in overalls and pearl snap shirt.
And I want to tell you this. I got another story. It's off topic, but the first time I went with Randy, we went out to meet these dealers up in Nebraska. And, we're talking, and these little towns, the only thing in these towns is about a bar. So at noon, we meet them at the bar, and we go in, and we sit down, and they sit down, and a lady comes around.
Why would you tell this?
Oh, because everybody loves this story, Randy. And, we all go, and I order a Pepsi, and the guys all either order tea or pop. And then the next guy, Randy, he orders a coffee, which I'm like, well, okay. And then they go around once our order for food.
Yeah.
Well, first guy, he orders a cheeseburger. Second guy, he orders tenderloin. I order a cheeseburger.
A lot of grease.
And Randy, what did you order?
I had a salad, Brad.
A salad.
Heart-healthy salad.
Do you know how uncomfortable that made me feel? Sitting in a bar in Nebraska and wondering if, it's almost like that song Uneasy Rider in there.
Now, the question here, guys, is did you have dressing on this salad, Randy?
I did, Miles.
And how much?
A lot. Blue cheese.
Okay, now here's the interesting thing, the heart-healthy aspect of this. I have read recently that that a lot of dressing on a salad, blue cheese or ranch or Italian or otherwise, is actually worse for you,
Miles,
than the cheeseburger. I'm just saying.
Cheeseburger, eat beef.
helping my
beef.
image.
Well, but then Randy got up to use the restroom, and he had on.
We love Miles, don't
yeah, but Randy had on a nice polo shirt, and he had khakis and penny loafers on.
I did not.
Well, that's why we're in radio. The people can't question my story. So
That's true. That's true. And you wouldn't be a little windy, would you?
well, we got off topic a little
We
bit
did.
there.
You did, yes,
Well,
as a matter of fact.
we were talking about getting the drill ready and my overalls and climbing around, be covered in grease and stuff, and getting it ready.
That's part of it.
Okay. Check it, make sure it's right. Make sure gauge wheels, there's not a bearing or something out, because you go to the field and you drive, you go, and then you have to stop, go to the dealer, get something, or wait for parts, and it's not fun. So just check the drill, make sure everything's ready to go, and we'll get on it. Get some wheat in the ground.
As long as it's not wet and all
Wet.
of that.
And then, one thing we should talk about, Randy, is nitrogen on wheat.
Yes, every plant needs nitrogen. Wheat's
Okay.
no different, but most people don't treat wheat as a crop, do they?
Well, it's
Unless you're in Kansas.
some people treat it, I like to treat the wheat better and do some, try to manage it for higher profits. And if anybody,
Weren't you getting 89 bushel when you sent me
Well,
those a couple years ago or something? You sent me
yeah.
those pictures of filling your truck. What we talked about?
those full lines on the
full
truck
lines,
that are marked.
turbo to the top.
Okay. Well, that was when I come across everybody that knows me well. I usually have several books that I like to read or skim, reference back to. And this week I'm looking at Managing Your Way to Higher Profits. It's from Needham Ag Technologies. If you've read or researched about higher yielding wheat, Phil Needham, he's got a great book that he puts together. It's got colored pictures, and he's done several of these, and I've emailed him back and forth a few times, and just like how he puts this together, and it's colored pictures, and it's not real thick, and he covers different topics that, makes you think. And if you look at it as nitrogen management, we look in the wintertime, we put a little bit on in the fall. We get that plant going. We don't put too much on. Well, in the spring, we look at the number of tillers that are out there.
Right.
Okay, and this is at green up. Green up usually happens sometime there in February. And we look, how thick is that wheat? Because if we put too much nitrogen on too early, what happens?
She'll go over.
Well, that's called lodging, and it goes down, and that you lose yield. And you probably didn't need to put that much nitrogen on, so it costs us more money.
How much would you put on?
Well, it's going to depend on the number of tillers. And he's got a little, there's reference in there that you can talk about the number of tillers you can put, apply this much. And then what I've been doing is I put some nitrogen on then, and then I'll come back at right before boot when the wheat's tall, and I'll top dress the rest of it then. And that goes in where the wheat won't use it for vegetative growth. It'll use it for reproductive growth. So like that year we had the 80-some bushel wheat that had lines in it from where
89, if I remember right.
That's when we had the line. I had lines out in it from top dressing that wheat, and we had cooperative weather.
What brand of wheat was that, Brad?
Well, I think I bought it off of the back of a truck somewhere. You may have sold me that wheat.
I did. It was called Willcross 752.
And that was, and guys, this is back before I even worked with him. This was just me as the farmer that bought that from him, and
when life was much simpler then.
And didn't you need that wheat back for seed? I was
did.
driving down the road in the semi, and you called me, and I said, well, do you want this load or what's left in the bin?
I did. I remember.
Oh.
That was
but
good.
We managed that wheat to increase tillers. I mean, I've had wheat that I put 120 pounds of nitrogen on, and she didn't go down.
That's like corn.
I mean, but we're shooting for, could we get to 100? There's people that can grow 100 bushel wheat.
There is. Some down south of here has grown some.
So we've got to manage it. And wheat, it's a different game. Wheat responds to nitrogen. It's like corn. Corn responds to nitrogen fertilizer. And, soybeans, it's hard to get them to respond because it's soil fertility and August rain. So that's one way to look at it is we can increase those tillers at green up with how much nitrogen we can put on. Too much too early and she lodges and goes down. When we space that out, you got another trip in there. But like there, when you talked about the clover this year, I had a lot of it with clover under it, and we were able to cut that for hay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that kind of gets us going into, well, is there more to wheat than just being a crop?
Sure there is.
You thought about doing wheat on your farm, but, you don't have cattle.
No.
So, like if you have cattle and you plant a little bit of wheat, you've got options.
graze.
You can graze it because, I put up some hay and you've got to mow it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to rake it.
Yes.
You've got to bale it. You've got to haul it in, which I still need to do.
Yeah.
We need, and then you got to take and put it back out for the cows.
A lot of handling.
Every time you touch it, there's dollars.
Yep.
Okay. Well, when you can have a field that's already fenced, if it's attached to your pasture,
Throw up a hot wire
and maybe do some of that rotational grazing or, a poly wire. I've strung those and, we had wheat, what was it, in 2013 around the house?
Oh, yeah.
And
like the combine in the front yard. You had that 5 feet, off from the house?
The thing is, those fencers only have a cord so long on them, Randy. So you plug it in. When we built the house, we put a plug in on the outside.
Yeah.
So we plugged that fencer in and we strung it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we made it reach the fence. And we had to move that fence post about 2 foot from the front yard.
We've got to give our listeners a break from you for a minute now, Bradley. We're going to talk more about Brad's polywire around the house and his wheat crop and the cattle and all of that when we come back to Bull Sessions on 680 KFEQ.